Everybody, welcome back. Thanks for watching. Before I send out this Tanto custom made for a guy, I just wanted to show it to you all. It's an option that really anyone could ask for, and I like this one quite a bit. So this is a 4-inch blade Tanto style knife. Got about a 4-inch handle as well. It just feels really good. It feels very secure, it balances well, it's robust, it's sturdy, it gives you a lot of confidence. It's a good overall do-it-all knife, one that you could even abuse a good amount. Now, the Tanto knife specifically is one I don't see a lot of custom knife makers do. It kind of has at least in my mind, a Tanto knife has kind of a goofy, tactical type reputation. You know, cheap knockoff bud case stuff. They love the Tantos. But in reality, the blade functions really well. That Tanto design works really well. So I was really skeptical about Tantos, but in 2020, I decided to get one just to see. So I didn't judge it without reason. And when I got this Recon 1, it's been my pocket knife of choice for the last 3 years because that Tanto tip works so well for so many things. So let me just break it down a little bit here. Firstly, this is a 1095 high carbon steel knife. It's differentially heat treated. It's got a hardened edge. Edge is about 58 Rockwell hardness, and the spine is softened to give it extra durability and strength. Now, right off the bat, one of the benefits of the Tanto knife is that you're going to get a very, very thick and sturdy blade. Why is that? It's because there's no reduction in width until the very end, and therefore there's no reduction in the width of the spine until the very end. I've talked before about how to maintain a consistent cutting angle, how to get good cutting. You need to reduce the width of the spine if you're reducing the width of the blade. That's the only way to maintain proper edge geometry. However, because the Tanto blade is thick all the way up until just the very end, that means you can maintain a really thick spine that whole way. That lends itself to a lot of sturdiness and robustness, almost like a pry bar. The other advantage there is, again, you've got full thickness out in the end as you do here at the heel. Most knives cut the best right there at the heel. Why? Because most knives are widest right there at the heel. However, the Tanto is the same width all the way throughout, relatively. So you get just as good, deep, aggressive biting cuts out here as you do in here. That's nice for utility work when you're, carving something or cutting something. It's nice to have full cutting power out here, because again, normally your cutting power towards your tip is slightly reduced just because the width is reduced, right? Reduction in width as it goes further from the heel. Now, the other advantage there is if this Tanto is being employed with a snap chopper and some combative feature, that also means we've got full width, full mass, and full excellent powerful cutting power right here. And of course, the further away we get from our action, our pivoting action, the more speed you have. So there's tons of power to a Tanto blade. A really wide, long Tanto blade would be a great chopper. And actually, Tantos are underrated choppers. People think of them for their penetration, but because of that same width all the way out to here, they're great for chopping. So it cuts really well all the way out to the tip. It chops really well all the way out to the tip. And then how about that tip? Well, again, you've got the reduction in width of the spine. Why is it so abrupt like that? Well, I don't know why the American designers did that, either Lynn Thompson or Bob Lum. But the way it works out is it's good for a variety of things. You might think it's not. It totally is. Picture what a utility knife looks like, right? A utility knife, you get it at Lowe's and you push it out. Pretty much looks exactly like that, right? So, and they use that for what? For utility. It's used for everything. You can use that last piece for everything. You can slit open boxes so well with the Yokote region there. While I've had this knife, I've used it to cut my leather because that point is abrupt, but it's not so sharp that it tears. And I just put that right down on the surface I'm cutting on, and I drag it through, and I cut leather like that, and it just slides through leather like a pizza cutter kind of through pizza. Also, that straightness is great for any sort of this planing type action. I find myself having to do that a lot. This scraping, planing you'll find you need to do it just with generic everyday utility, the Tanto knife is great for it. Also, penetration-wise, so if I'm pushing this through something, only a sharp part of the knife is in contact with what I'm pushing through, be it cardboard or whatever else. If you've got, again, use my accipiter here, as this pushes through something, sure, the sharp part is in contact, but guess what else? This dull part, because this is not a sharpened false edge, is in contact with what I'm pushing through, and this is creating resistance. In fact, this whole sweep, as I push through a medium, that's resistance, 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 because that's a dull piece of steel being pushed through a medium. Sure, the edge is sharp, but with a low point, the edge only does so much. The rest is a lot of resistance here on the spine. Now, with a Tanto, guess what? No resistance on the spine at all, because only a sharp part is coming in contact with what you're cutting. So it does penetrate super well. I think, and this will probably be controversial, but from what I've seen, these Tantos penetrate even better than Bowie knives. Now, if the Bowie knife has a fully sharpened false edge, that's going to be a different story, because then it's going to pierce a lot more like a dagger. Here's another thing. If we're talking combative type application, once you have pierced about 3/4 of an inch, you've achieved the full width of the knife. There is now no more resistance when that knife is moving through something. So here's my piece of paper. Once I penetrate to here, no more resistance. The knife just slides in and out. Why? Because I've achieved the full width of that width again. So all you have to do is slam this knife in 3/4 inch. If you can do that, you can get it the rest of the way through and whatever you're going into. That's pretty incredible. Another advantage, because there's no reduction in width of the blade, guess what? That's a consistently wide wound channel for a full 4 inches. Getting back to, I keep using my accipiter here, but it can be anything else. It could be the cold steel code 4, whatever it is. Picture this is making a wound, right? This is not a very wide wound channel. That's very small. And it gets wider and wider and wider, and that's good. And the widest part, okay, that's good. But you get this far into something, and this part's only creating that much displacement of vessels and all that sort of thing. Well, a Tanto, even to the very, very, very end, is creating a very wide wound channel. So if you're using this to, again, for combative reasons, or if you had a bigger one for hog hunting, this is going to sever more blood vessels. This is going to do more damage because it's got a much wider wound channel. So the Tanto, both with combat and just with everyday utility, has a ton of applications. And I think if you haven't carried one, you should give it a shot. You should, get one of these if you want something custom and handmade and just heirloom quality and super attention to detail. If not, grab a Recon one. They're kind of expensive now, though, I think. And you'll find, you find all sorts of uses for that secondary edge. I've skinned deer, or at least cleaned out roadkill deer with this one specifically. And that Yakote there, you just use it like you'd use the belly of the knife. People freak out and say, well, you can't skin an animal with that, and you can't do bushcraft with that. You absolutely can. Just use it. You'll find out. You can do it. Now, the Yakote in mine is a little rounded. It's not quite as pointed. See, we'll compare it. So the factory one's real pointed there, and this is a little rounded. I think this is a little bit better because it stays sharper longer. That real abrupt tip there, that'll flatten out kind of as you use it because it's so flat, because it's so pointy. It's a little bit rounded, and so it tends to keep sharp a little bit longer, a little bit easier to sharpen, and also does do a little bit better when you're doing some sort of skinning task because it kind of just rolls through the flesh right there. And I like how it does when I'm, again, dragging it across surfaces. It does a nice job just splicing the material. Last thing, if you have kids, Tanto knives are great because when you're cutting up pizza or any sort of food, you just push it straight down and you get these really, really nice even cuts, and you can get them into nice little, non-chokeable squares. You can make everything really even so no one argues. So I like Tanto knives for that. You can just push down to cut. You've got a block of cheese, turn it sideways, just push straight down. You'll find all sorts of good things. Spreading peanut butter, massively good for spreading peanut butter or butter, anything like that. I'm making myself want one, honestly, right now. So that's just the features of the Tanto knife. How this knife specifically, like I said, you got that 58 Rockwell hardness, you got that softened spine, you still got that 90-degree spine up through here. It should be hard enough to throw sparks if you want to. I've put on that jimping there, both for decorative and for just super cool looking purposes. You got that curly maple handle and brass rivets. Curly maple handle is kind of contoured a little bit there, just super comfortable. Nothing's sharp. It's just totally comfortable, easy to grab, easy to change grip. I mean, even this junction right here, that's all sanded, so you're not gonna hurt your finger on that. I forged this lip to come up just a little bit, just to give a little extra guard for your finger so you don't slip up on there. It's nice to have. You'll also notice the taper. I mean, look how it's tapered, forged thin there, and you know, it's much thicker here. So overall, we've got a nice distal taper, thin, thicker, and that feels good. Balances the blade well. Yeah, it's balanced right about there in the middle. It's just neat to see kind of a more tactical style blade, but set off with a curly maple handle. I just love that. So yeah, all hands done, hand forged. There's no pattern for this. There's no jig for this. This is just like any knife I make. This is one of one. There's never going to be this knife ever made again. I can't reproduce it perfectly because, again, there's nothing to go off of. I do it by eye. I can make one similar. I can, you know, just like you can have a similar dog, you know, 2 German Shepherds, they're the same dog, but they're different. And so, yeah, you can get one of these. It'll be the same knife, but it'll be yours. It'll be different. Now about this sheath. Guys, just as much work goes into the sheath as it does into the blade. This is cut out by hand from all this thick leather I've got over here. No examples, and that's too big to grab. It's just cut out from straight up 8, 9 tenths weight veg tan leather. Then I stain it, and I burnish the edge, and I dye it, and I just said stain it. I oil it, and I mean, I make it smooth, round. I wet form it, and then I seal it all with beeswax to make it hard and to get you this good retention that you want, because you don't want your blade to fall out. Hand stitched, not with a machine, and it's all done by hand. Now, the way these sheaths work, these are my favorite style of sheath. It's really, I think, the best way to carry it. Take this off here, is you can just use this and go through here, and you can carry it right here. It's a super good way to have a sheath. It moves with your body well. It's super easy to access when you're seated, and that's what I like about it a lot. If you're in a hammock, if you're sitting down outside, it's not bumping into the logs you're sitting on. It's not poking into your hammock. It's just right there. It's super easy to get to. So I love that. It never comes loose. It's perfect. You can also go and you could do it scout style if you wanted to. You just do the same thing, only kind of belt loop here on the back, and you can go and do scout style as well. So pretty, it's got some variety, but also I put these in there. So if you wanted to, you know, do it more traditional, you could do that. You just feed it through here, and you have a nice option for a good high and tight carry. Nothing rattling around, nothing loose, nothing banging, making noise, anything like that. So there's a nice, neat way to carry it too. And then all these ways are just super concealable as well. I mean, you can walk around like this and have it with you all day. You could even, can't quite go into the t-shirt like that, but almost. So it's a great way to have a knife, and it's comfortable. So that's the sheath. The sheath is, again, an independently made work of art there. There's no pattern for the sheath either. It's just done for the knife. So I mock up the sheath while on the same piece that I cut it out of. So there you go. There's the combo. That'd be great for all sorts of stuff you could use every day. And thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Here come the kids. If you like the video, hit the like button, and see you next time.